got to hand it to Tycho Brahe. I mean, he was a dude who knew how to keep moving. Now, you may or may not have heard of him. Tycho Brahe was a 16th century Danish astronomer. And he was in the middle of history changing. He came along just as people were inventing the telescope, and they were realizing that it sure looked like the planets and the earth revolved around the sun instead of everything revolving around the earth. And some Christians had a problem with that because they were convinced the Bible taught that the sun revolved around the earth. Like in Joshua chapter 10, Joshua's in this battle with the Amorites, and he prays because they're winning. He says, sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you moon over the valley of Ahijan. So, and the Bible says that God answered his prayer in verse 13. It says, so the sun stood still and the moon stopped. The sun stopped in the middle of the day and delayed going down about a full day. So all the Christians said, well, that teaches clearly that the sun revolves around the earth. So Tycho looked at it and said, well, it sure looks like the planets revolve around the sun. So he came up with this model where the sun revolved around the earth, but all the planets revolved around the sun. And you wonder, did he not think something would run into each other? Well, obviously he was wrong, but he was persistent. I'm afraid sometimes we're persistent the way Tycho Brahe was. We're persistent in holding on to something. Maybe the way we view God. We have this box we put God in. We think God should act this way and do these things. And even after we begin to recognize that that's not how God acts, we still want to hold on to our old view of God. We want to hold on to our old view of ourselves. We want to hold on to old views of how God works in our lives. Is there something in your life that you're holding on to that you kind of know is wrong? Well, don't be a Tycho Brahe. Be a person who listens to God and listens when God changes what he's teaching you. And that's today's Jumpstart. One little bonus content. Tycho Brahe had a prosthetic nose. Yeah, he lost his original nose in a duel with one of his cousins over who was the better mathematician. True fact. By the way, if you like the Jumpstart, make sure you subscribe or maybe like it or even share it with a friend.